going, and this will be for the channel, and this will also be placed in the chat, and therefore we're going to go away and let's get this going because we don't have time to waste. Let me go find it. Okay, so we're going to start with the tour, and this is Yora Deah. We're starting with the tour. Hashoichet tzarich sheyivarach kodim. A person who shechs, who slaughters, has to recite a blessing beforehand. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kisham v'sivanu al hashchita. So he says, "Blessed you Hashem, etc., King of the whole universe, that has sanctified us on shchita, al hashchita, regarding the shchita." Interesting to note, whenever it says al, it always means that the mitzvah has started. So we are going to figure out when he has to make this bracha and when the shechita really has started. Shachat lo yivarach, if he shechs and he did not say a bracha, shechita still kosher shechita. V'im shachat meya behemus, and if he's shached 100 behemus, mevarach achas l'kulam. He says one bracha for all of them. Shnayim sheichte shtei behemus. If two people are shechting 2 behemus, echad yachal levarach v'yetzer b'chavrei. One could say the bracha and he could fulfill the obligation for his friend. As long as his chaveroi had in mind, like any time, to be yotze the bracha from that, to fulfill his obligation through that bracha. He cannot speak between the shchita and the bracha. The im daber bein bracha l'shchita. But if he did speak between the bracha and the shchita, tzarich levarach pam acheres. He has to say it again. It was a hefsek. V'chein im roitza lishchait harbe. Likewise, if he wished to slaughter many animals, lo yedaber bein shchita l'shchita. You don't speak between any one shchita next shchita. The im diber shchita shchita. But if he did speak between the shchitas, tzarich dam shchitas rishayna. He has to cover the blood of the first shchita. Ulevarech pam acheres al shchita, and he has to shine on the bracha again on the next shchitas that he does. Aval al kisoy hashina lo yivarach, but he doesn't make a bracha on the when he covers again, when he does a second kisoy haydam, covering the blood. V'chein al das l'shchoit chaya achas. Likewise, if one recited a bracha and he had in mind, I'm only going to shecht one animal. V'achar kach haviu yoser, and after that they brought him more. Yekasa dam rishonu yivarach alav. He covers the first blood and he makes a bracha on it. Yivarach hashchita shnia, and then he makes another bracha on the next ones. V'lo yakisoy, but not on the covering of the blood. Ubala iter kasaf, and the Bala iter wrote, Dafka kishe'enoi mimin harishayna. This only applies when it's not the same species in the beginning. Going sheshchachat chaya ve'viu la'oif. He was shechting a deer, and then they brought him a bird, a chicken. Aval im he mimin harishayna ein tzarich levarach. But it's the same min as the first one. You're shechting a rooster, and then they bring you a whole bunch of more birds, more chickens, more roosters and chickens. Then it's the same min. You don't need to make another bracha, even though you only had in mind that one chicken, because I guess you had in mind that the chicken, you had in mind to shech the chicken, so it has all the right now, all the times you can shech the chicken now. By Nenu Havi Arash, but of course my father, the Rosh, Zakronia Laracha, Loi Chilek. He did not make a chilek. He said, regardless, it doesn't make a difference. Min, not min, doesn't make a difference. If you had in mind one animal and they bring you other animals, you got to do the kisoy, make a bracha on that, then start with another bracha. V'im, mischila, if initially, when he made the bracha, there were many animals before him to shecht, and afterwards they were brought, others were brought before him, even more than what he already had. It says in Sefer Mitzvahs, it doesn't say which Sefer Mitzvahs. It just says, I'm not sure, Sefer Mitzvahs Cotton, Sefer Mitzvahs Gadol, the Chinuch. I think the Chinuch was written after the Torah, if I remember correctly. But anyway, it just says in Sefer Mitzvahs, is it maybe the Sefer Mitzvah Rambam? Doesn't say who Sefer Mitzvahs it is, but anyway, Im Shemevim Lefanav Acheres, if they bring him others, Yesh Oid Lefanav my son Shahayu Lefanav Shavarech. There still remain some of those that were standing before him that he did make a bracha on. Ain't Tzarech Levarech Al Oisan Shemevim. So he does not need to recite a bracha over the new ones that brought to him. Ach, this is including Im Gamar Kol Asher Lefanav Lishchait, that he goes ahead and finishes shechting everything else before him, then Tzarech Levarech Al Harishayna. Then he has to again make a bracha from the beginning. So if he had 10 animals before him, and when he up to animal number 9, they bring him 100 more animals, he could shecht 101 more animals, no problem. But if he had 10 animals in front of him, and he finished shechting number 10, and they brought him more animals, got to make a bracha again. But there's no reason to make such a distinction. Ella kol ma shaloi hayulafanav kishavarich. Rather, anything that was not before him at the time that he made the bracha, tzarech levarach alav, requires a new bracha. Ella im kain hayisa daitoi al kol ma shiavoyu. Unless his intent was for everything that he would later be that brought to him. So again, you have to have in mind. If he shechted a wild animal like a deer or a bird like a chicken, and he intended to slaughter more. But let's say he forgot and he actually made a bracha on the kisei adam. And then when he turns to shecht, he still does not need to make a new bracha on the shechita, because the kisei is not considered a hefsek. How did the sicha have a hefsek? But speaking constitutes an interruption, like we said before. Dafka things that are not regarding the shchita. But if he's doing matters that are applying or are needed for the shchita, like here, pass me a knife, or hold it still, or move out of the way, or hold the garbage can, or put the wood chips down, and things like that. Aval, then such as bringing me an animal, like I said, loy have a hefsek, not considered a hefsek. Ad kana tor, for Yud test, Yora Deah Yud test. Okay, now let's look at Shulchan Aruch Yora Deah Yud test. Dinai birchas hashchita uvay shmayna seim. There are 8 sifim in this, and this is the dinai of brachas of shchita. The one who shechts has to recite a bracha at the beginning. Again, ala shchita. The im shachat loy varach shera, and if he did not recite a bracha, it's still kosher. The im shachat davar d'lesialed bei reusa v'tzarach bedika. If he shechted an animal concerning there was let's say some sort of defect arose requiring inspection, yishchatanu b'loy bracha. You should shecht it without a bracha. So in other words, if you're not sure if it's one of those animals that's sakana or something else that could have a defect that you're not sure it's going to be good, then you should shecht that a bracha. She might say kasher mevarech al shchita, and when it's found to be valid, then he recites the bracha on the shchita. Provided the bracha is recited immediately when you do the shchita. So again, we mentioned the al shchita because al shchita is when you're already involved in the mitzvah shchita. So apparently, the reason why it's al shchita is because checking the knife is required as part of the shechita. So you make the bracha after you check the knife, before you make the cut. So you prepare the part of the animal, the neck. If there's anything, rocks there, anything, you got to wash it away, rub it down. If there's anything there that could ruin the knife or anything, you got to get rid of it, clean it up. You also have to check the knife. When you do that, and then you hold the animal proper, and then you're about to make the incision, then you say al ashchita, because you already started by preparing the animal, holding the animal, cleaning the animal, and checking your knife, and now you're doing the shchita. Therefore, it can be done also after the shechita if it's done right away. Be'or zerua hilchas kisoy dam shaloi kirashi b'shuva. It's like or zerua, but it's not like Rashi. V'im shachat bebeis hamat vachim shehu makaim mitunaf. If he shechted it like in a slaughterhouse, which is an unclean place, Yavar, right? Because there's feces there, right? The animals, you have a lot of feces there, and they're there the whole time, and blood is all place, and the place smells, and it's not a place to make a bracha. Yavarech birachuk arba amos kaidim shikanes lusham. He should recite a bracha a distance of arba amos before entering, and enter, and then he should shecht lo yidaber alachar shchita, and he should not speak until after shchita. Hagoy shchita yishanem kishem aguda. As cited earlier, that regarding like shchita in the name of the aguda. Okay, that was Sif Aleph, Sif base. Shachat behemos v'chayes v'oifos bracha achas l'chulan. If you're doing different animals, you're doing deer, you're doing chicken, you're doing a cow, one bracha on all of them. Sif Gimel. Shnayim sheichtim shnei baalei chayim. If two people shech two animals, one makes a bracha and he's moitzes chaveiro. Who you just talking leitzis? He has to have in mind the one who's being moitzah has to have in mind to fulfill his obligation with that bracha. One must be careful regarding not speaking between the bracha and the shechita. Regarding a matter that's not required for the shechita. If he does speak, then he has to make a bracha again. But it's mutter to speak between the shechita and the kisei. It's better not to speak according to Trumas edition. Sif, hey, if one intends to shecht many animals, he should be very careful not to speak between any of the shchitas. To a matter does not involve the shchita. The imdi, if he did speak, he must cover the blood of the first one, and to make another bracha on the next shchita. But on the second kisoy, he does not make a bracha. Mishum the shchita lo have a hefsek, because the shechting itself is not considered an interruption from one bracha to the next bracha, between the bracha and the next animal. Aval im sach. But if he spoke in the interim, then it's an interruption and this is make the bracha again. Some say the shchita, bein shchita la shchita la yahabe hefsek. Some say that between one shechting and another shechting is not an interruption. So if you have in mind to shecht a whole bunch of animals, and you shecht the first animal and do the kitzai, and then you do the other animal, you could speak between the next animal and then do the next animal, but then you finish up what you got to doing, and you can speak in between animals according to some, according to the Rama. One who made a bracha intending to shecht a single animal. And they brought him more. He has to cover the blood and make a bracha on it. And he makes a bracha on the second shchita, but not on the second covering. And what are these words? This only applies whether or not he made a bracha before he made a bracha on the first covering. So it's interesting. So he's saying that the additional animals before you do the first kisei. So unlike the Torah, who seems to say that as long as he didn't finish shechting his animal, they brought him more, and he only had in mind one animal, he still has to make a bracha on the second animal. Here, if he only had in mind one animal, and he shechs that one animal, but he didn't do the kisei yet, and they brought him another animal, he could then have in mind that the bracha he made now goes on the other animal, and that's fine. And some say that if additional animals are brought in the same species as the first, he need not cover the first nor make a bracha on the second one. So this is like the Torah b'shem bal iter. There's a Torah that we find the other shem bal iter, that it's the same min. Then the bal iter says that you could then just go further. And this is the primary ruling. And while the Rush was not chaylik, on whether or not. So the Bala just says with the same min, it's fine, but and it's like the Torah. And the Rambam passed like that as well. Hayu lefanav harbe lishchait uvarech hashkim. So again, let me just before I move on, just say again, if he has in mind one animal, and then he shechs the one animal, they brought him the same type of animal, another deer, then he just goes ahead and can check those animals, and he does one bracha, one kisoy, and all of them, and everything's fine. Sif Zayin. Of Harbe Lishchai Tavarech Al Shchita. If many animals were brought before him to Shech, then he recited a bracha. Lachkach Haviu Lo'id, and then he brought him even more. Im Kushaviyim Lo Yerushalayim Yesh Adayin Lefanov. If when they brought him from the first one, when we brought him the animals, sorry, if when they brought him the second animals, Yesh die in the fun of the still before him, Maisa Mjayu Lefanav Kishvarech, those that had the bracha when he made the bracha on, ain't tzarch lachs levarach. There's no reason to go ahead and make another bracha. B'em lav tzarch levarach, but if it's not, then you have to make another bracha. L'chadchila, Toiv lahazir shehiu daitai b'shas bracha al kol ma shehivu loi. L'chadchila, you should have in mind exactly what you're shechting, whether it's going to be 10 animals, whether you have in mind other animals might be brought, or whether you don't have in mind. You should really have in mind exactly what you're going to shecht, and the bracha should go on exactly what you're going to shecht. But if you made a bracha on 10 animals, and while you're still doing animal number 9, they bring you more animals, you could go ahead and transfer the bracha, and the bracha goes on all the new animals as well. If a person is shechting either a chaya, which is like a deer, or an oif, which is like a chicken, and then he tends to shecht more, even though not in front of him, and he forgot, and he covers the blood, and then he is varech. When he goes back to shecht, he doesn't need to make another bracha. Because like the Torah says, Shulchan agrees, kisoy is not a hefsek. Ramah says, likewise, if he's shechting a deer or a chicken and he wishes to shecht a cow, he could go ahead, do kisei dam on the oif and the chaya, and then go ahead and do the behema. That is Simin Yutes going to Shulchan Aruch. Now we're going to move on and we're going to do the Piskei Tshuva. Okay, Piskei Tshuva, Simin Yutes. Vloiber kosher. If you don't like a bracha on it, it's kosher. So Mashakasav Kishem Hilchos Eretz Yisrael. What we wrote in regarding Hilchos Yisrael, the Inyan B'Shayla Sutruvas Noida Yehuda Chelik Yora Deah Simin Behays She Hiksha Mizarek Sakin V'Alacha V'Ashaychet, who questioned there was a question that he had for a case of one who threw a knife and it went and it shechted. Shalai Kivan Lishchait, and he didn't have an intention to slaughter. Vim Kain Loivarch, and certainly he didn't make a bracha. Gavna Kama V'Kama, and many similar such cases. But so he answered the Tam Hilchos Eretz Yisrael she'oisar shchita. The reason why the Hilchos Eretz Yisrael forbids shchita, so hainu disvarale, because it's a svara. The kevon the hezra loivarach, and since he intentionally did not make a bracha, hayulei mumar la'oisa davar. He considered a mumar regarding the matter. Ayin sham. Now, according to the Piskei Tshuva, v'tema olav, but this is puzzling. The Harei Barosh Perakama Dechulun, because that's in the beginning of Perakama with Simon Aleph, Kasav, and in Simon Aleph we wrote over there, V'zeh l'shaynai, and this is the wording, K'moi Kain, Kasav, Shachach, V'loi Varach. Likewise, he wrote, and he forgot, he did not brach, Ella, M'shaygeg Ma'iri. So therefore, it seems like it was inadvertent. It doesn't seem like he dafka did not make a bracha. If he dafka did not make a bracha, then fine, he's a mummer. But he didn't dafka not make a bracha, he just forgot. Here, it's the knife slipped out of his hand. He didn't intend to shecht, but he didn't dafka not make a bracha. Sheira, it's kosher if he didn't make a bracha, right? Ayin beber heitus in beber to b'shein pri chadash, and the name of the pri chadash, aval iyaka. But if there is, Av she'ein daitai, even though his intention, he doesn't have intention. V'ayim b'shuvas Rus Yaakov, chelik beis, shekasav yerot, the im hu b'shavua shachal tishabav, if it's the week that Tishabav falls, the yesh lacho she'avi lidei hefsid, and there's concern of financial loss, ba'oifin demutter l'shchait, in a situation where shechting is permitted, Afshahu Baki B'digas Lo Levarach, even though he's an expert examination, he should not make a bracha. Achein Im Yuchal Lakayim Menu L'Shabbos. However, it can be, if it can be reserved for Shabbos, I Losais Menu L'Chayla V'Chai Gavno, give it to a Chayla or someone similar. Yesh Levarach. So, if it's the week of Tisha B'av and there's a halacha not to shech during the week of Tisha B'av. Tisha B'av, there's a takana not to have meat that week, so therefore there's no reason to shecht, and we shouldn't shecht. But let's say there's a shasat chak, and he has to shecht. So therefore, in that case, he should shecht without making bracha. However, if it's going to be meant for a mutter reason, for like that's not shasat chak, like a choila, or like for Shabbos, then he should make the bracha. Ushe kosher, and then he's found to be kosher. Ayin Shach, Kisul Ladam Rambam, and this Ladas Ram, this is according to Das Rambam, the Ayin B'Shagas Aryeh, look at the Shagas Aryeh, She Hishig Al Shach, who challenges the Shach, the Ayin B'Shuvas Tferes, Shedacha Dvara V'Hiskim, who rejects the argument and agrees to the Shach, the Ayin B'Shuvas Chinuch Bas Yehuda Simin, a lot of Ayins, L'Shchita, for Shechting, Ayin B'Heitiv, B'Shem She'il Oisava Acheros, that V'ayim B'Shuvas Chenach Bas Yehuda, and Yehuda, or B'Shuvas Pri to, all right, lots of ayins over there going on. Yivarech Birchok Dal Amis, you should make a bracha outside of 4 Amis in a place of a very smelly slaughterhouse. Ayim B'Shuvas Tashbatz, Shadaitoi, Einoi Kain, who disagrees with this. Lefi, She'ein levarech ala mitzvahs, because one may not make a bracha on a mitzvahs, ela k'shehi mizumnonim lefonav lasois biad, unless he's ready to perform right away. V'im loy al nochosh shema yimalech akse, in other words, he must fear that he's going to consider v'lo yishchot, he's not going to shecht, ultimately make the bracha. By the time he walks the animal, he's going to realize he doesn't want to do it, or he's tired, he's not interested, whatever it is. Al kei nira shetzurech l'shchot chila, therefore one must shecht first. And then immediately go afterwards outside, and make a bracha in a Torah place. Since a blessing afterwards is considered acceptable, and so too you should make the bracha and do for the bracha on the kisoy adam, covering the blood. Nonetheless, he did not decide this definitively. Rak lahalachas v'lemaisa. He thinks theoretically lahalacha, but he did not say it's lemaisa. But it seems like a maisa because again we make the bracha of al hashkita, so therefore it could be done afterwards, and therefore maybe it is good to actually do the shchita and then do that, and then remember and go out. But again, he has to remember to go out and to make the bracha, and he has to have mind that he's going to make the bracha. A lot of having minds going on. Bracha achas akulon makes one bracha for all them. I am Sefer Shus Yaakov. Tzarech levarech. He must recite the bracha. Ayin the Kav Chaim. Le'inyin im barech al shchita v'nitra. Regarding if he makes a bracha over the shechting and became a treif. Im yachal achar ka'achar kach achareh b'loy bracha. Whether or not he could make a bracha on another one without a bracha. Lo have a hefsek. It's not considered a hefsek because he had in mind. I guess the habit over there is he had in mind to shecht a proper animal. He did the shechita and ended up being a treifa. So therefore, his bracha was not meant for an animal to be a treifa. So therefore, whether he could bring in a second animal. So he had in mind one animal. He had in mind one chicken. And as he's shechting the chicken, it jumps and moves, and he does not do a proper shechita. So then he could bring another chicken. Why? What's the havmina? Because he had in mind to shecht the kosher chicken, and he didn't shecht the kosher chicken. So his bracha really wasn't on this specific bird, but it was one bird that was going to be kosher. This bird is not kosher, so he brings substitute to be kosher. That's the havmina over there. He should not make interruptions. So I look at the beloy bracha without a bracha. Ayin beber hativ and the shach the ayin pri chadash Hisegalav that disputes this. The Kasav Zvikas Arroyo Loy Hagi, a pasuk that who wrote that a lung inspection is not considered an interruption. So Zvikas Araya, looking at the lung inspection for glat is not considered an interruption. Dashmul Nichudash, and that is Yora Deah Simin Yutes.